Welcome. If you're watching this, chances are you've been hearing the term AI governance a lot lately in job postings, in news headlines, maybe even in conversations with your manager. And you're wondering, is this real? Is this where the career opportunities actually are? The short answer is yes. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what AI governance careers look like, the roles, the skills you need, and what the market is paying. Whether you're in privacy, cybersecurity, audit, or risk, this one is for you. Let's get into it. Think about what happened with cybersecurity. About 15 years ago, it was a niche function. Then data breaches started making headlines, regulations came in, and suddenly every organization needed dedicated security professionals. The salaries shot up, the career paths matured. That exact same pattern is playing out right now with AI governance. The rules around AI are being rewritten. Regulators are stepping in, and organizations are scrambling for people who understand how to govern AI responsibly. The professionals who position themselves now, not 5 years from now, will be the ones writing the playbook for this field. So here's the thing that surprises most people I speak to. They assume AI governance is some futuristic, highly technical field. It's not. AI is already being used today in hiring algorithms, in credit scoring, in fraud detection. The governance function needs to catch up with that reality. And here's the exciting part. Most of these emerging roles don't require you to be a data scientist. If you've spent years in compliance, risk management, or audit, your background maps directly to what organizations are looking for. The window is open right now. The early movers in emerging fields always command better salaries and faster promotions. Let me give you a quick roadmap of where we're headed in this video. We're going to walk through 4 things. First, the actual career paths, how your existing background connects to AI governance roles. Second, the specific job titles organizations are hiring for right now. Third, the skills you need to build to be competitive. And fourth, what the market is actually paying with real salary numbers. By the time we're done, you should have a clear, actionable picture, not a vague idea, a concrete direction. So let's start with something important. Why is this field growing so fast? Before we go deeper, I want to address something. A lot of professionals tell me, Vishal, I don't have a technical background. Can I even do this? And I always say the same thing. You don't need to reinvent yourself. What you need is to reposition what you already know. If you've been doing GDPR compliance, you already understand data governance. If you've been doing internal audit, you already understand control frameworks. AI governance layers on top of that foundation. It doesn't replace it. So wherever you're starting from, privacy, cyber, audit, or business risk, there's a path in, and we're going to map it out. 3 forces are driving this growth, and they're all hitting at the same time. First, AI adoption at scale. Banks are using AI for loan decisions. Hospitals are using it for diagnostics. Retailers are using it for pricing. The deployment is happening fast, often faster than the governance can keep up. Second, regulatory pressure. The EU AI Act is now law. NIST published its AI risk management framework. More regulations are coming globally. Organizations need people who can translate these requirements into action. And third, escalating risk. Bias in models, unexplainable decisions, data privacy failures. These aren't hypothetical risks anymore. They're happening. That's why this talent demand is real and urgent. When I talk to hiring managers and legal teams at large organizations, I hear the same things over and over. We need someone who understands AI risk, not just general risk. Or our auditors know how to evaluate financial controls, but they don't know how to assess an AI model. That gap is the opportunity. This is a classic early career signal, a field growing faster than the talent supply can fill. Think about what that means for compensation, for career progression, for the ability to define what the role even looks like. That's where AI governance is today. And the gap isn't closing quickly, it's widening. Let's get specific about job titles. AI governance isn't one job, it's a family of roles. The AI governance lead sets the overall framework and strategy. This is a senior role, more about leadership and policy than technical execution. The AI risk manager gets into the weeds of identifying and mitigating risks from specific AI systems, model risk, data risk, bias exposure. The AI compliance specialist tracks the regulatory landscape and makes sure the organization's AI use aligns with applicable laws. and the AI auditor independently evaluates whether governance controls are actually working and reports findings to leadership and regulators. Four distinct functions, and all four are being hired for right now across major industries. Here is an important nuance. In a large bank or a tech company, these four roles might be separate job titles with dedicated headcount. In a mid-sized firm, one person might cover two or three of these functions. That's actually an advantage if you're entering the field because breadth of knowledge makes you more valuable when organizations are still building out their governance functions. I've seen this play out in compliance fields before. When GDPR first came in, many organizations hired one person to do everything: policy, training, breach response, vendor management. Over time, those functions matured and separated. AI governance is at that early stage right now. Let's talk about your specific path. Because the beautiful thing about AI governance is that it welcomes professionals from multiple backgrounds: privacy professionals, cybersecurity specialists, internal auditors, GRC practitioners. All of you have transferable skills that reduce the learning curve significantly. Your existing background isn't a gap, it's your competitive advantage. The organizations hiring for these roles aren't looking for someone who can build AI models. They're looking for someone who can govern them. And governing requires exactly the skills that risk, compliance, and audit professionals have been building for years. Let me make this concrete. If you're in data privacy, you already understand consent, data minimization, and regulatory compliance. AI governance extends that into training data ethics, automated decision making rules, and explainability requirements under regulations like the EU AI Act. The overlap with GDPR makes this one of the smoothest transitions available. If you're in cybersecurity, your threat modeling and vulnerability assessment skills apply directly to AI specific risks like data poisoning, adversarial inputs, and model attacks. And if you're in internal audit, you already know how to evaluate whether controls are designed and operating effectively. That's exactly what AI auditing is. You're already closer than you think. So, what do you actually need to develop? AI governance sits at the intersection of four areas: risk understanding, the ability to identify and communicate AI specific risks; regulatory knowledge, fluency in frameworks like the EU AI Act, NIST AI RMF, and ISO 42001; communication, because your job is often to translate complex AI concepts for boards and executives who aren't technical; and AI fundamentals, a working understanding of how models are built and where things can go wrong. Notice what's not on that list. You don't need to write code, you don't need to be a machine learning engineer. You need enough literacy to ask the right questions and identify governance gaps. That's a very achievable target. I want to spend a moment on the AI literacy piece because it's where most professionals feel intimidated, and they shouldn't. You don't need to understand the math behind neural networks. What you need is a conceptual understanding. How does supervised learning work? What does training data mean? What is model drift? And why does it create risk? Think of it like financial auditing. A financial auditor doesn't need to be a CFO to evaluate whether financial controls are working. They need enough financial literacy to identify where controls should exist and whether they're operating. AI governance is the same. The right certifications and structured courses get you to that baseline faster than most people expect. Let's talk numbers. Entry-level AI governance specialists at enterprise organizations are starting at over $130,000 annually. Mid-level professionals, think AI risk managers and compliance leads, with 3 to 5 years of experience, are seeing $175,000 and above. At the senior director level, total compensation packages at large enterprises exceed $250,000. And AI governance job postings have tripled in the last 2 years. 3 times the postings. That's not a gradual increase. That's a demand signal you can't ignore. And because the supply of qualified professionals is still catching up, these compensation levels are being sustained, not compressed. Where is this demand concentrated? Financial services is one of the biggest hiring grounds. Banks and insurers are deploying AI for credit decisions, fraud detection, and customer service, and regulators are demanding documented governance of those systems. Big tech and AI companies are building internal governance functions to get ahead of regulatory enforcement. Healthcare is investing heavily in oversight of AI diagnostic tools. And consulting firms, the big four and boutique advisory firms, are building AI governance practices to serve all of those enterprise clients. Here's the strategic insight: the professionals who enter this field in the next 2 to 3 years will become the senior leaders and standard setters within 5 to 7 years. Early movers in emerging fields always do. So, how do you actually make this move? I break it down into 4 steps. Step 1: learn the fundamentals. Build a conceptual foundation in AI governance principles and the regulatory landscape. Step 2: develop practical skills. That means conducting AI risk assessments, reviewing AI system inventories, and applying control frameworks to real use cases. Step 3: align with industry frameworks. Because employers hire people who speak the language of NIST ISO 42001 and the EU AI Act. And step 4: position yourself in the market. Update your profile, engage in AI governance communities, and pursue certifications that signal credibility. Each step builds on the last. You don't need to do everything at once, you need a sequence. 3 frameworks will come up constantly in AI governance roles. Know them well. NIST AI RMF is the US standard widely adopted across industries. It organizes AI governance into 4 functions: govern, map, measure, and manage. It's a practical starting point and a common reference point in job descriptions. ISO/IEC 42001 is the international standard, a certifiable management system framework, increasingly required for audit and compliance roles. And the EU AI Act is the regulatory heavyweight, the world's first comprehensive AI law. Understanding its risk categorization, high risk AI requirements, and compliance obligations is essential for any compliance focused role. Learn these 3, and you're speaking the language of the field. Let me bring this together. AI governance is one of the fastest growing specializations in risk and compliance today. The demand is real and expanding across every major sector. The talent gap is significant, and that's your opportunity. Multiple entry paths exist. Whether you're coming from privacy, cybersecurity, audit, or business risk, your background transfers. You don't need to start over. The compensation is strong at every level and driven by supply demand dynamics that aren't resolving quickly. And the timing is genuinely important. Regulations are tightening. Organizations are building governance functions right now. The professionals investing in these skills today will define what this field looks like in 5 years. Here's my honest take after years of working in and around this space. AI governance is one of the best career moves available to risk, privacy, audit, and cybersecurity professionals right now. Not because it's trending, because the underlying forces driving it, regulatory pressure, organizational risk, AI deployment at scale, are structural and long term. This isn't a wave that will crash, it's a tide that keeps coming in. And the professionals who build these skills now will be well positioned for the next decade, not just the next job posting. So the question isn't whether to move in this direction, it's how fast. So what do you do right now? 2 things. First, download the free AI governance checklist, linked in the description. It's a practical, ready-to-use tool to start assessing AI governance readiness for yourself or for your organization. No sign-up required. Second, if you're ready to go deeper, check out the full AI governance course linked below. It covers the NIST framework, ISO 42001, the EU AI Act, with real-world case studies from finance, healthcare, and tech, plus a certificate of completion you can actually use on your LinkedIn profile, and subscribe for weekly content on AI governance, risk management, and career strategy. I'll see you in the next one.